kind of sick today. I feel a little icky. But the glory of comic books is too great to be impeded by some paltry head cold. They must be discussed. Let's go! So today we're looking at issue 11 of Once Upon a Time at the End of the World with Jason Aaron and Nick Dragotta. I was pretty excited about this one because I like Nick Dragotta's art a lot. More importantly, I like Nick Dragotta's art more than the last artist to work on this series, and it was definitely refreshing to see his super stylized, very emotional artwork in this series again. And Jason Aaron is a very accomplished comic book writer. Some of his series that I like in particular would be Amazing X-Men, Wolverine and the X-Men, and of course the very popular Thor series he wrote, which I haven't read yet, but I'm gonna read it. This series so far has been a little thin here and there, but for the most part it's very creative. There's a lot of cool ideas here. The world building is really solid. It's fun to look at and it's fun to read, at least most of the time. The first 5 issues followed a much younger Maceo and Mezzi as they met each other in the post-apocalyptic wasteland, because if you can't tell by the title, it's the end of the world. And in those first 5 issues, even though Mezzi wanted nothing to do with Maceo at first because they were such different people, they came to realize that they liked being around each other, at least. And then in the second 5 issues, we explore this relationship more closely as they break down any walls they have, and they build this utopia for people to come and be safe and happy in the end of the world. And to be honest, this second book is kind of where I fell off. Basically, Maceo and Mezzi built this utopia, and they put invitations all over the wasteland so people could come to this utopia and be happy and free, whatever. And somehow the only people who showed up in this utopia were like attractive, thin, clear-skinned 30-something-year-olds, who none of which seemed to have any kind of emotional baggage, I might add, even though they all literally live in a wasteland at the end of the world and they have to do crazy things to survive. But anyway, we've got all these attractive people living in one utopia, basically having this giant polyamorous community, and then it starts to go wrong, and he hinted very early on that it was gonna go wrong, and then it did go wrong, and we were like, ah, yeah, we knew that would happen. And after a few issues, I was honestly so uninvested in the storyline that I didn't even notice when my local comic shop didn't get issue 10, so I didn't pick it up because I didn't see it. So when I went back to see where we left off at the end of issue 10 before I read issue 11, I realized I didn't have it. But that's okay because you get the main gist of what happened in issue 11. Now, I'm always curious about what creators have to say about their comics because sometimes I just miss something. Issues 6 through 10 felt a little bit simple to me, and I think that when that happens, it's usually because I'm missing something. So I went and had a look at what Jason Aaron had to say about those issues. And this is what he said on Instagram recently. This week also sees the release of the trade paperback collection of our second acclaimed arc, The Rise and Fall of Golgonooza, which is part searing love story, part exploration of end times polyamorous community, part gut-wrenching horror story that will leave your heart stomped into the dirt like the failed and filthy organ it is. Wow. In other words, it's a fun romp through the wasteland. The main art duties for this arc, an arc that proved to be the most challenging story I've ever written, that's important, are handled by the staggeringly killer team of artist Leila Del Duca and colorist Tamara Bonvillain. I'm really sorry if I pronounced those wrong. I just don't know. I'm sorry. So when he says that it's the most challenging story he's ever written, that makes me think that I definitely missed something. So here's what happened. Basically, these two people built a utopia that's a perfect safe space. Like, it is the safest space you could possibly think of. And then a bunch of strangers came into the safe space and everything was great. And then suddenly these weird mists started coming out of the ground and making people go crazy, and they started killing each other for who knows why, and then eventually everybody was either dead or had left because the area was contaminated somehow, and even though Maceo and Mezzi had been trying to fix it, they just couldn't, and then they essentially broke up at the end. So I just really want to get into Jason Aaron's head and figure out what he was trying to do there that I missed. Because the overall moral that I'm getting from those 5 issues is that it doesn't matter how ideal the situation is, you can do every single thing right, and then somehow it'll still all fall apart unless you work to fix it? I don't know, they were working to fix it and it didn't work. So I guess the point is futility? I don't know. And I'm not trying to tear down Jason Aaron here, right? Like, I genuinely want to know what I missed. So anyway, by the time we get to issue 11, a lot of time has passed, and Maceo and Mezzi have not been together for this whole time. They've been off doing their own thing. And they're both kind of built for war at this point. And you know, now that I think about it, maybe issues 1 through 5 was them meeting each other and realizing they were very different people, and then issues 6 through 10 was Mezzi trying life Maceo's way, and now issues 11 through 15 is Maceo trying life Mezzi's way. Maybe. I don't know. But they haven't seen each other in forever, and these weird wasteland, creepy people are gonna discover the engine that Maceo built in his utopia, and they're gonna use it to blow up the world. So Maceo and Mezzi are racing towards the old site of their utopia, and they're gonna stop the bad guys before they blow up the world. And it's pretty dark. We're definitely back in sad territory with this series. But it's kind of hard to be sad while you're reading it because the world building is so funny that I just stopped every couple pages to chuckle about it. Like Maceo has built a shotgun into his arm. That's pretty funny. Mezzi has this army of fire rats, whatever that means. How are the rats on fire? Are they dying? How is she throwing so many rats at these people? That's just silly. On the last page, we've got this, like, roided out wasteland zombie guy riding a tiny little Mad Max tricycle with his knees up to his frickin' chest. That's pretty funny. And the way that Aaron is using curse words in this series is a little hard to take seriously. He'll just string a bunch of them together and be like, that's how they feel. It's not even a particularly creative string of expletives, right? Like, it's just, I put them all at once. I feel like it's more work to swear that many times in a row in every sentence than it is to just think of a better word. It's a little silly is what I'm saying. And overall, this issue is still just intensely sexual, which is par for the course for this series, honestly. But I just don't know why. Like, does that have meaning, or is it just because Jason Aaron feels like it? Dragotta's art is, as always, very cool. I feel like the art as a total is kind of limited by the colorist, makes it seem kind of flat, and I know that it could have more depth to it. But I just love this classic Dragotta expression we get from Mezzi here. You get that expression in every single book he draws, and I love it. There's definitely plenty of room for the story to unfold. The world building is excellent, as always. I'm pretty excited about this latest volume, especially because Nick Dragotta is drawing it. But I'm also glad that we're not still in that overly perfect polyamorous community thing. Because listen, I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of stuff. Well, you're telling me the world ended and the only people who are showing up are attractive 30-something people with zero emotional baggage who want to have open relationships? Nah. So overall, this issue was really fun. It's a great start to the next chapter of the series. I'm definitely excited to see where it goes, and I think this time around I'm going to pay more attention to whether or not my local shop gets the issues. Just a friendly reminder, it's a market, so it's all about supply and demand. If you want to read good comics, you gotta go out and buy them. So go buy this issue. It's an 8 out of 10, which is a perfectly respectable score. Did you read it? What do you think?